Hello and welcome to Patrick's Models and Transport. So this evening we're going to continue the comparative review of the Jouef SNCF, in this case here, 040TA tank locomotives. Locomotives which in origin were part of the West company, Chemin de Fer de West, and then eventually État, and then after 1938 SNCF. And I hope I got all of that right. Okay, so here we see two versions of the same model, of the same locomotive. We've got the one you've already seen, the open-sided cab. Let's put a spot of extra light in here, that way we can see what we're talking about. The one we've already reviewed, that I already had, with the open-sided cab, with the belt drive the rubber belt drive transmission that we saw. We also had a good look at the transmission mechanism in the last video, and on the other side we have the version with the closed cab, which in this case the model has got the gear drive, and it just has a 3-pole motor. So we have 3-pole motor and gear drive versus 5-pole motor and rubber belt drive. Also the other difference is that, let me zoom out a little bit here. This locomotive here only picks up from the 2 centermost wheels. This locomotive here instead picks up from the first 3 sets of wheels, and which is a much better solution. The other main difference at the moment is that this locomotive here, you know it well, this has all been serviced and is well lubricated and so on. This one here has not been lubricated at all. It hasn't been serviced, so I've not done anything to it yet. There in the background you can see there's a photograph by Howard Foster that I downloaded from Flickr with 040TA 54 with the enclosed cabs, just to give you an idea of, just to show you the real thing. And anyway, back to the models. So what's the main difference? So from outwardly we have some slight differences. Of course, this one, the one on the right, is in the green and black livery, whereas the one on the left, the one with the open cab, is all over black. Then from a technical point of view, this locomotive has got front and rear lighting. This one here only has front lighting, so why they didn't bother putting the rear lighting, I do not know. If I wanted, I could even fit it, because I've got Jouef bulbs, Jouef bulb holders. I'm also going to be doing so. I might even add that. Never say never. Anyway, so you can see, we can have a look now by looking at the rear end, how the differences in the cab. And there are, anyway, some differences in the in the moulding. Both of these locomotives were in production. The mouldings are contemporary, because if we look here, this is an older model, the 3-pole motor, and here we see its box, and on the box it says we have the 040 version TA1112 with an open cab, which is this one. In fact, it's 040 TA112 112, and then we have, on this case here on the other side, it says 040 version TA28 with the cabine fermée, meaning closed cab. In fact, if we look here, we'll see that it's 040TA 28. As I said in the general review video, the video I did dedicated to the 040TA, the running video and the potted history, with the potted history. The locomotives were first developed with open cabs, and then into production with open cabs, and then throughout the 30s they received closed cabs. The surviving locomotives have all got closed cabs, as far as I remember. right now. I also found another very nice document online about the Chemin de Fer, the West locomotive. So there's some very nice photographs of. It's a very nice photograph of an open cab locomotive, and I will include that in the description box. Okay, so back to the models. Let's have a look at some differences here. So first of all, tonight I'm holding the camera. We'll see the boiler is absolutely identical. The boiler is the same, running plate is the same, and even the chassis and the base plate, because when they modernized the locomotive, they simply changed the driving wheel position. So this locomotive here, the drive goes on the front wheels and the other wheels are linked. In this case here, the worm drive acts on the rearmost wheels, and then there's a linkage. So the boiler is absolutely identical. Of course, the cab changes. There are some differences in the cab. So boiler and tanks are identical. Let's have a look at the cabs. If we look at the cabs, we'll see that we start having some differences. For example, the closed cab, let's look at the bunkers. So we have to think that the closed cab is an evolution of the open cab. Closed cab has got a wider bunker compared to the open cab. It has what's visibly here, opening and closing air vent here on the roof. In this case, it's only open, but if we talk about the model, if we consider the model, here, in this case here, it's just part of the moulding. But on the open cab version, if I take a light, I'm getting a light now so that you should see the light shining through. If I do that, you'll see that, oops, let me see what I'm doing. You should see, look, the roof vent is actually a roof vent. It's really a vent. So you can see the light shining through the mesh. Instead, on this one here, it's just part of the moulding because it's smaller. That's a very nice touch. This is what I like of these Jouef locomotives, that they're very, very well detailed, despite being just simple plastic mouldings, and they're very solid. Another important detail is that these metal, what do we call these ones here in English? This is a good thing. It's one of these moments when I remember a word in Italian and I don't. These are like indicator. They show the overall dimension indicator, so the driver can actually see where the locomotive finishes. I've actually seen a photo of one of these locomotives with where these were also used as lamp irons, with a lamp hanging here. But they're also handy for climbing up on a footplate. They act as a form of support when you climb up on the footplate, because here the steps are here and you can grab this pole. So it's a multifunction structure, and this is made of metal. So this is metal. If I get something metallic, we'll hear the noise of metal against metal. So this isn't plastic, and the same applies to the 140C231. Listen. That's no plastic, this is metal. So that's a good touch. The buffers are made of metal as well, metal buffers. So on a whole, very, very, very nicely made locomotives. We have another difference. For example, if we go down, you'll see that on the closed cab version, the connection rods have got red center parts, whereas on this one they are not. But this is a more recent model, and the linkage is burnished, so it's darker, it's made more realistic. You'll also maybe notice that it's got sort of glistening in oil, because this locomotive here has been lubricated, and like the real thing, it's I lubricated this some time ago, so I'm pleased to see that the oil is still all in place and it hasn't spread all over the place. So the next one, this locomotive will be getting serviced soon, and so we'll actually get it running. And other differences, what else can we say about this? Let's look at the other side. Turn it around. Okay, here we see the two left sides. In this case here, you can see that the water tanks, there's a left side and a right side, so very realistic molding. And there's the electrical overhead warning hazard on both of them. This locomotive here, which I bought cheap, it's at one point in its life the chimney got broken off, the funnel got broken off, and it's been glued back on. So it's being glued back on. Decent. It's decent. Maybe it's not very straight, but I'm not going to unglue it. If I had glued that on, but I generally don't drop locomotives on the floor, I would have probably glued it on tidier. But I might go with a spot of matte black paint and touch it up a bit. But I think that it might become even more noticeable if we go, and I could do a spot of weathering there. I might cover that up with a spot of black paint. It could be an interesting thing to see on a video anyway. So apart from that, the locomotive is in very good condition, apart from being, from a mechanical point of view, more primitive because it has a 3-pole motor and it only picks up on the 2 centermost wheels. But on the whole, it's very nice to have two versions, so to have both versions of the 04 OTA. And what I'm very pleased is that I have 2 model versions from a mechanical point of view, because this way I can compare the performance of the 3-pole, and it's not just a different motor with the same drive, but it's a different motor with a different drive. This locomotive here is a very good puller. This is very good shunter. It's sometimes the belt drive tends to slip, but once it's warmed up and it's going, it's a really good locomotive. These locomotives were developed as shunting engines, and this can pull. This does pull. This is a good puller. We'll see this one here because there's another difference. This locomotive here, in fact, I'll just show you. Let's just get, I think we're going to take the, we'll just leave the filling in light in. Let's see. Let's weigh them. Okay, I've borrowed my wife's kitchen scales with precise orders not to damage them and drop them on the floor. So we'll just switch that on. Okay, so 0, we're in grams. Let's see the open cab version. 191 grams. I already weighed these, so I've already taken notes. 191 grams. So we'll move that out the road. Let's take the other one. 105 grams. So there's an 86 gram difference between the closed cab, the older model with the closed cab, because if we go in real life, the closed cab locomotive is newer. It's a development of the open cab locomotive, but of course now in the models, this one here is older and with a less sophisticated mechanism than the historically previous open cab locomotive, which has instead, it's a later model. Okay, so we have an 86 gram difference, and this is due to the internal weight. So let's just move the scales out the road, hoping not to make them have a sore head. That's that. So when we'll actually open these locomotives, because I'm going to open them up once I service this one here. I've got to open this one, take take everything off to clean the motor, so I'll have to open it up, and we'll actually see them with the body off. This locomotive here has got a very, very big ballast, single piece of ballast in the boiler. So the front part of the smoke box, there's a light bulb in there. So the ballast begins here. So this locomotive here has got a single piece of ballast, which is boiler and tanks, a nice heavy piece of lead. In this locomotive we have two pieces of ballast here in the boiler and nothing in they're glued in. They're glued in as well. You can see that they're glued in. In this case here, it actually comes out. You can take it out and remove it. And this is, I don't know, and I'm wondering if this locomotive here has been altered in time, but it would have made absolutely no sense to alter a locomotive. It's heavy enough, and you can see that it's factory made lead, but it's a smaller part. And the weight, in this case here, is more concentrated here to work on the pickups, and more on the traction. So from here to here, more or less, no? Here to here. And but we'll see that in the next video. So that's the two locomotives. Let me know which one you like best. Let's just turn them round this way. This way we see this side now. Very nice models. I really like them. And in fact, I can't wait to get them on the layout and do the running session, because they're really very nice. I think between the two, the open cab might definitely win the prize of best puller and best shunting engine. But the closed cab version with the 3-pole motor and the gear drive doesn't have the weak point of the belt slip. So this is the difference. This locomotive here would actually be very interesting, in my opinion, coupled up to a 5-pole motor, because the 5-pole motor has got a better low speed and it's quieter. So this is actually, the 3-pole is actually quite a noisy motor. The Jouef 3-pole motors are quite noisy, whereas the 5-pole motors are really, really quiet. And we've seen that already on the 030T Boer videos that we did. Okay, so I think that's enough for this evening, and I think we'll just part with a general panoramic view with the two versions of the 040TA, with the background, the photograph of the real thing. So I'm taking this off that. Thank you for your attention, and if you liked the video, if you have these locomotives, if you've got anything to add, your experience with them, in particular with the one that I haven't run yet, the 3-pole gear driven version, please let me know in the comments. And that's it. So if you like the video, you can give us a like and subscribe to the channel, and of course click the notification bell. This way you'll always be updated on what's going on here on the green mat at the moment. And once I get this locomotive here serviced, up and running, we're going to be doing the running session. So hopefully within the end of the year, which means after tomorrow, we'll be having a running session. And I've got quite a few things that we have to look at in the running session. Okay, cheerio, and see you next time. Ciao, ciao. Nice locomotives, very nice.